Welcome to Weight Loss and Wellness for Real, the podcast where people like you get the practical solutions and support you need to permanently lose the physical and mental weight so you can feel better and live the life you want in the body and mind you want. If you're looking to overcome your stress eating, overeating, binging behaviors, and move to a place of freedom with food and your body, you're in the right place. Just a reminder that this podcast represents my own opinions. The content here should not be taken as medical advice. The content here is for educational and informational purposes only. Please consult your doctor or healthcare professional for any individual medical questions you may have. Hello, everyone. Thanks for listening today. I'm glad you're all here. Hope you're all doing well. Today's episode is going to be a short and quick one and just gets down to the real nitty-gritty on how I work with clients to lose weight for good. So there's lots of ways out there to lose weight. You've probably, if you're like me, tried them all, most of them, and lost some weight on those things. But if you are someone who finds that weight always coming back on, or you're always feeling restricted, or just that yo-yo dieting cycle, then this is for you, because I'm going to just give you the real basic principles I'm always including for my clients and their individualized plans. So the specific interventions for each person, because of different preferences, different lifestyle, different likes, dislikes, just because everybody is so unique. Even we're so unique in how we react to food, digest food, all those sort of things. So specific interventions really look a little different for each person I work with, but the framework, the basic framework underlying everything really stays the same and has proven tried and true over time. So I'm just going to share that basic framework with you. Take a listen to really understand what those things are to lose weight for good, for a lifetime, to find freedom in your body and with food. So most of you here are part of this group. You know, losing weight is a common goal for so many of us these days, but often the thought of losing weight, the process of what it takes can feel really restrictive and overwhelming. And the idea of having to deprive oneself of favorite foods, or maybe I'm going to have to engage in really intense exercise regimen, those thoughts can become so discouraging and then makes the process of weight loss seem like this really unattainable goal. And so when we're thinking those things, as if you've been here a while, you understand how this works. If we're thinking those things, we're creating feelings in ourselves. And those sort of thoughts really create this paralysis. Or maybe, we're excited at first and motivated, so we get it going, but eventually we have these thoughts. And so we just shut down and never, ever get there. But it is possible to approach weight loss in a way that is not restrictive, but rather focuses on creating a healthier lifestyle that is sustainable and enjoyable. And that's really my mission, my goal in life, is to help people move into that space where we create a lifestyle that you enjoy and that can last and that keeps the weight off for good. So first, it's really important to shift and I talk about this, over and over and over. If you've been listening to this show, you know I talk about this over and over again. But number one, it's really important to shift the focus away, your thoughts away from a restrictive mindset and towards growing and towards practicing a more positive and empowering mindset. So instead of seeing weight loss as a punishment for unhealthy habits, we want to view it as an opportunity to improve one's overall health and well-being, right? We want to look at it as this wonderful space, this wonderful opportunity to where we can improve our overall health and well-being. And by really practicing and adopting this mindset, individuals can approach weight loss with a sense of motivation and excitement rather than dread. And interventions that I use to do this with my clients are lots of things. It's, it comes down to the coaching, it's the back and forth conversation, but it's also using journal prompts. It's using strategies from cognitive behavioral therapy and acceptance and commitment therapy, ACT, to really teach people how to practice these strategies to really change the brain, to actually change the mindset. So new thoughts start popping up more automatically, which then creates these feelings of willingness and excitement. And that can move us into this place of drive us into behaviors that we really want to be behaving in order to get the results we want. Second thing is that, instead of drastically cutting calories or completely eliminating certain foods from our diet, from what we're eating, a much more sustainable approach is to focus on moderation and balance. And this means incorporating a variety of whole, very nourishing or nutrient-dense foods into what we're eating while still allowing room for some indulgences here and there, things we really, really enjoy. It's so important to learn to listen to our bodies and to honor our hunger and fullness cues rather than trying to stick to these very trying to stick to these very strict dietary rules or, this food is good, this food is bad, that black and white thinking. It all sets us up for eventual overeating, especially those of us who are emotional eaters, because when we're doing that, we're creating these feelings of negativity within us, tension within our body. And so those of us who are emotional eaters, or, sometimes called stress eaters, whatever it is, will eventually go to food to deal with those feelings. So we really do not want to be creating any of those feelings during the process of losing weight. And then, the third one is, engaging in physical activity and movement that is enjoyable and sustainable is really also key in this place. And in fact, for many of my clients, we do not start out with any exercise or movement at all. They're not into it. I meet people where they're at. It's important not to push that. But eventually, as they gain some confidence, or if someone's really ready to start doing this, we never are making someone force themselves to engage in intense workouts that feel uncomfortable or are not enjoyable. I really work with my clients to focus on finding physical activities or movement, I like to call it just movement, that they genuinely enjoy. And it could be dancing, it could be hiking, it could be swimming. I just do a lot of walking with my clients, and especially for women my age, 40s, 50s, who have been going hardcore, like, did the CrossFit thing for years, or they're marathon runners, or, you're just hard and you're really into it. And now things are starting to change, because believe me, they do. If you've been doing that to your body for a while, that's really where we have to get back into helping the body feel safe. And so focusing on simply walking is something that I do with many of my clients. Which, by the way, yields lots of weight loss. So, incorporating movement into a daily routine is something that we work on. And again, like simply just taking a walk after dinner, or in the morning, or taking the stairs instead of the elevator, parking far away in parking lots, all these old strategies that have been around forever, but they really, really do work. And then last one I want to touch on, and one that I work really hard with clients on. It's so important to really prioritize self-care and stress management. And self-care kind of become that buzzword, so I almost hate using it. But it really is, when you break it down, this is not about being selfish. This is not about, going to the spa every day. Self-care, one of the biggest ways we can care for ourselves is how we think, right? How we think about ourselves, that relationship with ourselves, and managing that relationship with ourselves. And so prioritizing that, learning strategies for that, and then also stress management during the weight loss process. So chronic stress and lack of sleep, all these sort of things can contribute to weight gain. And that's often because, cortisol levels go high, and that sort of takes the place. That's where we can get insulin resistant. So even if we have a ton of fat on our bodies, our brain doesn't really recognize that. And so instead it creates these urges to eat and overeat because it needs energy. So anyway, really learning how to incorporate time to relax, practicing mindfulness, getting adequate rest and sleep becomes so beneficial for weight loss that is sustainable. And so these would be things like mindfulness, again, meditation, Or, it can be really simple things like taking a warm bath before bed. I work with my clients on some cold exposure ideas, how to get outside and set that circadian rhythm with light in the morning and the evenings, different protocols with light, sometimes red light therapy, just different protocols helping them to prioritize that self-care, that stress management, and getting those circadian rhythms going right so that the right hormones are being released, all those things. So last thing I just want to say is that, approaching weight loss in a way that is not restrictive really does involve shifting our mindset and learning tools to do that. We really can change our brain. We really can change our automatic thinking. It takes some time, but there's lots of ways to do it. Cognitive behavioral therapy has been around forever. It's got tons of research behind it. We know it works. And then focusing on moderation and balance, not getting into this black and white thinking about foods, not getting overly restrictive, engaging in enjoyable movement patterns when you're ready for it, and then really prioritizing that self-care and stress management, which I just kind of went over. That really incorporates a lot of different things. But really by adopting this basic framework, right? Like this framework laying at the bottom of everything, by adopting this approach, we really do create a healthier and much more sustainable lifestyle that promotes our overall health and well-being. And that is the goal. All right, if you found something useful in this episode, would you please rate it? If you're listening from Apple Podcasts or from Spotify, you can go to the episode and you can rate it. And if you would do that, 5 stars would be amazing. That really does help other people find the podcast easier, right? So with the algorithms, when it gets rated, it bumps it up. So when other people are searching for help, like for sustainable weight loss, this podcast will pop up. And that's what helps. The more listeners I have going, that's what helps me to keep these episodes coming out. So another way to help the podcast would be to just share it with a friend, share it with someone you think maybe it could help, or that someone who would find it interesting. This really is a whole different way of losing weight for good. And, it is my mission to share this with other people because there's so much freedom when you finally get into this space. Okay, thanks again for listening, and we will talk soon. I hope you are finding something useful from these episodes and this podcast. And if so, please share it with someone else in your life you feel it could benefit. This podcast is also now monetized. So if you really feel you are getting a lot from it and want to help keep it going, please go to the episode show notes. You can just scroll down from wherever you're listening. You'll see a description of the episode, and then you will see it says support this podcast. And then there's a link you can click on. You can click on that link, and that's where you can support the podcast. Even the smallest donation, like 99 cents, helps to keep me producing the podcast. And to those of you who have donated, I really, really appreciate the support. I really do appreciate all of you listening and sharing the space with me. Again, just very thankful for all of you.